Hi everybody, my name is Patrick and I'm the founder of FieldWorks Software. DisplayWorks is getting a major update from 1.1 to 1.2 later this February. I'm going to cover all the changes for it. So the software has been out for about a month now, and I'm really pleased by the feedback and frankly the lack of bugs that have come up. But I have been working very hard behind the scenes in order to get some new updates posted in order to be available for the spring outdoor season for most users. So a few things that have come up in the first month. One is that there's some people that have had a small issue with authentication. They'll install the program and then they can't click on the fields to put in the authentication key. That is a Windows issue, but it's something that I've had to find a solution to. All you need to do is hit Alt-Tab and you can go to it, and there's a note on the authentication screen to let you know if you're having problems with it. So now there are a bunch of changes to the software. Some are very noticeable and others are going to be much more behind the scenes. On the behind the scenes kind of route, I've been working really hard on column sizes to make sure that the data displays properly and doesn't overrun and everything. Just little things like that. So it's just been a kind of course of adjustment for especially the smaller boards. Bigger boards are going to be generally not as affected by it, but the smaller displays, as you get into like 100 and something display pixels wide, can get a little bit wonky. So I've been working really hard on that aspect of it. Again, that's kind of been much more smaller board oriented. And in fact, a lot of the changes are going to be almost specific to smaller boards. Now, it's not to say that you can't have some of these changes be positive for the big boards. I'm just saying that a lot of them were focused on making sure that somebody that's running 3 or 4 panels or something like that would be a little bit happier with stuff. So the big changes. First of all, you can have multiple boards. So if you're using smaller boards, you're often going to have a couple configurations with them. Personally, I actually run 1x4 and then another 1x4, so athletes can see the time as they cross, and then if they finish, they can turn around and see the results. Software now supports up to 4 boards being kind of back to back to back, which is, I think, going to be helpful. I'm not sure people would actually use 4 boards, but 2 or 3 is definitely a reasonable number. There's a couple of different color choices, and in fact now you can change the color to whatever you want to. The entire spectrum is available to you as opposed to kind of some presets. There are still presets which make life a little bit easier and faster, but you can choose any color and hue that you want to for all the fields. Also added the ability to put a color behind the event name and the time if you're running a board where the time is up on top, and then change the color of the result place just to make sure that it stands out and pops a little bit more. There's also the ability to put a little line at the bottom of the screen that shows kind of what your website is or where to find live results. That's available now as well. The big change is probably that there are 2-line boards that now accept a logo. So you can put a PNG file or a JPEG file up on screen. It's got to be one or the other. You just create a folder someplace on your computer and you have the PNGs and the JPEGs in there. Make sure that they are labeled the same as the team names as far as they're coming over from your meet management software into whatever program you're using, and they just automatically pop up. Now, if there's not a logo that's available to them, that space is left blank, so all the columns are still in the right row. There's also a switching board. This is only for Lynx because Lynx has the ability to send a signal to say, hey, tell me or give me this different board. But you can go from start board to time board and then a result board, and also you can show a message board as well. So if you've got a weather delay, you can say weather delay, whatever, and put it up on screen. So let's check out a few of these changes and see what it looks like actually in the software. So this is the new setup screen, and you can see we've got a few familiar options, a couple tweaks to some existing ones, and some brand new ones as well. So we've got a small board set up, a 132 by 132 board, and we're going to run it twice, but we've got 2 panels actually operating, and we can check out some of the options. We're going to come down here. Not going to use a background image. We do want to send the test data so we can make sure the board is kind of lined up properly. We're not going to send the line info. That's not going to be that useful on a small board like this. We are going to show running time, and we're going to use the logo as well. And when we select use logo, you can see that we've got this image selection stuff that comes up. Time location is actually not important to this board, so but let's go ahead and take a look at it and take a look at the results first. And there we go. So you can see the logo that's here, and we'll come back later and show a situation where we're missing a logo, but all this information is here. So this is actually kind of doubled up, as I said. So we can go back to just a single board, and this is what it would look like actually on the board. And then we can go and check out how the time would look. The time would look like this. So as soon as the race, the gun goes off, this clock would start running. This clock would populate instead of the start list board or the result board, and you'd be good to go. So let's come back and let's do a 720p board. We're just going to run it once. We're going to increase the number of lines to maybe 6. And we're going to go do a 2-line board. And keep the logo on, it's fine. Upper right. And then just take a look at it. It's going to look really wonky. So let's come up on the line size to 36, 44, 44 here. Switch back to the board, looking a little bit better. For our purposes, this is good enough. And then we're going to use the line info. And it's actually set up down here, and it's going to be info line live results at MacDonaldTiming.com. And here you go. Now, if we change to one of these boards, I think so we're missing this school's logo in our folder, and you can see we've also got the IDs also on that line. We turn that off real quick. So yeah, we have a EA-OK and we have HARD, but we do not have OKLA, and so that space is just left blank. Now, you can use PNGs, and these are PNGs, but PNGs offer a transparency layer, and so it may be interesting to have a background behind it. So that you can see it a little bit better on a dark board like this might be useful. And so you can see we can now populate that with a color. And there are not a whole lot of changes to team abbreviation or big, just a few tweaks to sort of get the size a little bit better. I can see here now that we actually can fit this is a 14 character last name. Specifically, that's the biggest field that this is getting from Finish Links. So 14 characters, and we can just see that everything fits a little bit better. And of course, we'd probably want to go up to 8 lines with it and switch to the board. And then we can still run the little info line at the bottom, switch to the board, and we have that there. And obviously we can change the background color. And we just have a little bit more in the way of customizability and options. Of course, you can still use a background image, and that's a lot of fun. And then you can create multiple boards, which is useful. And also now you can see what type of font you're using. If for some reason you hate everybody in the complex, you can use Comic Sans. So I hope that's exciting. It's been a lot of work to get here. Actually, probably have put in more work coding in the last month since the program has launched than I did prior to it, just because I've been getting a lot of really positive feedback and requests. And in fact, a lot of these things were requested by our current users, and so I've been trying to get them associated and get them working before the real timing season kicks off for outdoors. If you would like to communicate to us, feel free to drop us a comment down below, or you can find us at fieldworks.app. Thank you for watching. Good luck this season.